Hello, friends, and welcome to the 6th episode of Dulcius Ex Asperis, news for people who don't like news. Who am I? I'm just a girl who's afraid of the internet and the crazy stuff that people say. Bonus points to anyone who recognizes those lyrics. I realized the other day I failed at Public Speaking 101. I haven't told you what to expect from this channel. So here we go. What do I mean when I say this is news for people who don't like news? Well, first, I like to include a song reference, because music makes my life better. Then I like to find some good news. Then I cover one or two interesting stories from the week that are connected to the same theme. If it makes sense, I'll put together some visualizations to make the story easier to digest, but I'll always cite my sources so you can look up the article yourself. And lastly, I follow up with some good deeds you might consider for the week, because a lot of bad stuff does happen, and the worst feeling in the world is thinking that you can't make a difference about any of it. Maybe it was my mood this week, but I had to look hard to find some good news. But here's a heartwarming story from ski country. The ski patrollers went on strike because of the disparity between what they get paid and what the executives make, and the skiers and snowboarders took to social media to support them. And in the end, as you can see from that New York Times article, they got a wage increase. I know you probably thought we were going to talk about the inauguration happening this week, but the story I've been following is about social media and how your social media feeds are about to get less reliable. Facebook has announced it's changing its moderation policy. They are going to end the third-party fact-checking program and instead move to a community notes model. This is similar to how things work on X, previously known as Twitter, where Twitter empowers their community to decide when posts are potentially misleading. So how did that community notes model work out for Twitter? Well, first, various public interest groups called out the rise in hate speech and harassment on the platform. And then Musk sued one of those groups because he wanted more free speech, but not like that. Fast forward a couple years, and now even some journalists are abandoning the platform that is supposedly the place everyone wants to be. Oh, and Twitter is suspending far fewer users for hate speech than they used to. What can you expect from this new, improved version of Facebook? More vaccine misinformation and disinformation with growing consequences. And more hostile speech targeted at groups that already had enough to deal with. Here's a short story about the time I was in a woman's bathroom with a transgender woman. She was my friend, and she was keeping her voice low because she was worried about getting harassed by other people. Nothing happened to me. Literally no one was at risk except her. Why does social media bring out the worst in the collective us? Some answers are in that Guardian article on racism and misogyny on Twitter. Controversial content on social media drives engagement and rewards the people that post it. Social media platforms make more money the longer you scroll. The algorithms boost provocative content because it keeps you scrolling, and creators on those platforms respond to those incentives for the money and attention they get. When we spend too much time on social media becomes a substitute for being social, and that isn't good for anyone. This Atlantic article outlines how pervasive use of social media has strengthened some bonds, but weakened others, like the bonds that bring a neighborhood or a community together. As this researcher said, families teach us love, and tribes teach us loyalty. The village teaches us tolerance. I almost skipped the finding steady ground advice this week, and then I looked at step 5, and it was perfect. The act of creating something, cooking a meal, knitting a hat, building a castle in Minecraft, these acts are good for us. They give us agency. I was reminded of a quote from Edward Tufte. Making a presentation is a moral act as well as an intellectual activity. If I may edit it a little bit, I think all communication is a moral act. Like that finding steady ground advice was getting at. We build our worlds with what we create, whether that's a watercolor painting or a social media post. We are not just passive consumers. We can change the conversation. Continuing on the theme of loneliness and social cohesion, here are my ideas for good deeds this week. Pick a small way to engage in your community. It could be as simple as stopping by the local coffee shop and sitting down for a hot cup of tea, or going to your favorite local restaurant and running into some neighbors. And if you want to help with that loneliness thing, make some plans with friends or family to do something fun, like maybe a board game night. I'm still figuring out the right cadence for this channel, but I think you can safely expect a video every 2 weeks, probably. Until next time we talk, take care of each other.